Do you like a challenge? Click on the challenge button and subscribe to my free 30-day real estate investing video challenge. Every day I'll get you a new video how I built my business doing 8 to 10 deals per week. It's 2.5 hours of hardcore training. Hey, this is Peter Vekselman. So today I want to talk about a topic that all of you come in play with or in contact with consistently if you're wholesaling deals, and it's something that I get constantly asked about, and that is this. When you're wholesaling a deal, and let's say you're trying to do an assignment, at what level or what dollar amount is the assignment just too big for you put in a HUD for your buyers and your sellers to see? You know, people always get paranoid. Well, I don't want my buyer to know that I'm marking it up $5,000 or $10,000, or I don't want my sellers to know. So there's a couple mitigating factors that go into that decision. So let me use actually a deal that we're right now closing, actually I think today, where we're actually double closing, meaning we're not doing an assignment. We're using we're using two separate closings. We're utilizing two separate closings, utilizing two separate HUDs. So here's the deal. I'm actually buying it for $61,000 and selling it immediately for $92,000. Okay, so that's a big, that's a big spread right there. That's a $30-some thousand spread. And in this case, we decided to go with a double closing. Now, internally, our rules here are pretty simple. We'll do an assignment, anything 15 or below, and anything 15 or above, we're going into a double closing. Now, some people even get worried about lower assignment fees. Like, people all the time contact me like, gosh, Pete, I'm making $5,000. I don't want to do an assignment on this one. I don't have the money to do a double closing and all this. So a couple things for you to consider. Number one, you have to make sure you're using very savvy closing attorneys or title companies, depending what state you're in. A good closing attorney, a good title company is able to kind of so-called hide these assignment fees. So what I always recommend is you always want your closing agents to put your assignment fee, no matter how big or how small, on the second part of the HUD towards the bottom of the HUD. Because really in the end, if you're a buyer, and especially if you're a seller, the real parts of the HUD you're looking for are the first page of the HUD. Here's my sales price and here's what I'm making. Or here's my purchase price and here's what I'm paying. Many times the second page, it just kind of breaks up fees that are all summarized in the front page, that they can't even see it. So you have to have a good and a savvy closing agent, very important. A good and a savvy closing agent will also be able to explain the assignment fees and kind of work through them in a very nonchalant manner. The one thing I always recommend is you do not want to use a closing attorney or an agent that or a title company that just throws these assignment fees into the buyers and sellers' faces. There's no need for that. It's just part of the transaction. It's everything we do is above board and it's very legit. But again, there's certain things that you want to showcase and certain things we don't. That's one of them. So the size of the assignment fee matters. The closing agent matters very much. The placement of the assignment fee matters very much also. Now, here's the other issue that people come in, maybe on some of these larger flips that you're doing, is that when you go into a double closing, most of the time you have to fund the front end transaction. So a couple things as a result of that. And a lot of times investors just don't have the money to fund, here's a $60,000 that needs to be brought to this closing. A lot of investors, or maybe you yourself, don't have the kind of money you need on the front end. Again, a couple things here. There's things called transactional funding, and all you have to do is just Google for them. These are companies literally all over the United States that fund back-to-back closings. I'm actually a transactional funder myself, so I could fund anybody's A to B, B to C transaction as long as it's set up correctly. So transactional funding is one solution to having to bring money to closing. Number two, again, going back to having the right closing agent or the right title company. In a cash transaction, when you're working with cash transactions, a good closing attorney should be able to use the B2C funds to funnel through to A to B. Now, if you have a mortgage involved on the B2C side, then that cannot be, 99% of the time, those funds cannot be used. So either use transactional funding when you need the money and you don't have the money, or if you're working with a cash transaction on the B2C side, a good closing attorney or a good title company should be able to just funnel that money all the way through one of the things we do when we work with our closing attorneys is that we make sure that our closing attorneys can funnel the B2C down to A. Now, in certain regards, the B2C people do not want their funds to be used, because when these transactions are done the right way, you have to disclose that the B2C funds will be used for the A to B funds. And usually it's just a document that the actual purchaser signs on the back end, knowing their money has to be will be used to funnel through. Again, some buyers, they don't want that to happen. No big deal. Obviously, we have no problem funding these ourselves. And if that happens to you, or they don't want those funds to be used, then you got to go into a transactional mode. So those are the things that you want to consider. Now, let's tell you something else that almost overshadows almost all of these things I've been talking about. And that is what we do here. And that is we always disclosing to everybody, our sellers, our buyers, exactly what's going on. See, in a transaction like this, even though we are using a double closing just because the enormity of this transaction in terms of the profit margin, but the bottom line is, guess what? Our seller here knows exactly what we're doing in this transaction. That we're actually not stepping in ourselves, but we're moving this property to a third-party investor. So there's no surprise for them, even if we did have to go into an assignment. And guess what? Our buyers, they know exactly what's going on too. So the ultimate way to make sure that you have security, that these transactions don't fall apart, always disclose to your sellers, to your buyers, exactly how the transactions are structured. And that is the ultimate way to negate any kind of issues that can come up with closings when you're doing assignments. I hope that helps. Hey, you guys know what we do here. We do a ton of deals, and I have a one-on-one coaching program where I coach people just like you to help become very successful real estate investors. So if you're a buyer, or you know other buyers literally all over the world that are looking for deals in the Georgia market, specifically concentrated towards Atlanta, you need to be on our buyers list. By now, you'll see my email scrolling across the screen. Send me an email. Just say, add me to the buyers list. And on a daily basis, you're going to get some terrific, both ROI and equity-driven deals emailed right directly to you. The other thing, if you're looking to become a successful investor, whether you're brand new, just getting started, or whether you're doing it already and you're looking to be a bigger, more sophisticated, more savvy investor, I know I could help you do that. Again, you could either send me an email to learn more about my one-on-one coaching program, or better yet, right below this video, there's a link, coachingbypeter.com. You can go straight there and learn more about how I could help you become very successful in this industry.
Hi there, my name's Jackie, and I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And about a year ago, I really began to have an urge to start flipping houses and making a lucrative income. I knew a few people who had been flipping properties, and I was really interested, but I just didn't really know where to start. I thought about hiring an investment coach, and I searched the internet only to find a bunch of hoopla, and it really seemed as though there were a lot of people just selling like gimmicks. I needed to find a program that was legitimate and somebody that I could trust so that I didn't waste my money. I didn't have a lot of it to spare. And that's when I came across Peter's program. And Coaching by Peter is so much different than all of the other programs I looked into. First and foremost, when I talked on the phone with Peter, I instantly felt a sense of trust that I hadn't felt anywhere else. In fact, I think out of maybe 10 programs I looked into, only one of them besides Peter got me on the phone. And all he did was try to sell me on things. So I didn't feel comfortable at all. And after I talked to Peter and I found out, how successful he was, he had sold upwards of 3,000 properties, I think it was, including commercial properties. His own business was absolutely thriving. So it was really a no-brainer for me to join the academy. And I realized how frustrated I was with the amount of trainers there were out there that really were just taking people's money and not teaching them what they should. I didn't like the idea of jetting off to some hotel conference room and leaving my family for a weekend, only to learn something that I can, buy in an ebook. So instead, I got serious training that I could do at my own pace. And I would just highly suggest this program and the Academy to anyone who is serious about their investment career and really want to take their property investments to the next level. I have learned so much, and I will continue to refer Peter's Academy to everyone that's interested. Thank you and have a great day. Thank you, Peter.